Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Timeless Season 1, Episode 9. It's called The Last Ride of Bonnie and Clyde. I appreciate the rhyming, I'll say that.
Gotta give him credit.
Full spoilers for the episode as always. So, as the title obviously suggests, we're back in the 30s and they run into Bonnie and Clyde and we go on this. Which is probably like, I have one main complaint of this episode, is I think the role of Clyde is wildly miscast.
I'm not gonna argue with that.
I don't know what it is. He's just too young looking. He feels so young. See when they're robbing the bank near the start, and they come in and he's like making all these commands. I'm like, you look like a 12-year-old in a big man suit.
He legitimately looks about 16.
Yeah. So I had a hard time buying him as Clyde. I really did. I always maybe my image of Clyde is just clouded by the fact that I have seen the movie. I've seen Warren Beatty play Clyde, and
Yeah.
he's such like a sort of middle-aged guy in that movie compared to him, and he just seems so baby-faced. I'm like, no, Clyde should not feel like someone I can beat up.
It wouldn't even matter if he was young. I don't know his actual age, I'll be honest.
uh,
Like what he's supposed to be.
oh yeah, Clyde. I have no idea.
Yeah. But that guy just looked like he was a teenager.
Yeah, wearing a suit, so he looked uncomfortable. Like the suit was too big for him.
He looked almost too young to be driving the car.
Yeah,
And,
that's fair.
that should not be the case.
Yeah. But that aside, obviously we had some advancement on two sort of main things in this episode. Obviously, the main plot was that Bonnie had this necklace around her, which is actually a key that Rittenhouse wants a hold of. It's even called the Rittenhouse key.
Aye.
So that's kind of what the characters are there for. It's what Flynn's there. Flynn's with the marshals and the cops that are after Bonnie and Clyde, so he's infiltrated that side of things. Whereas Lucy and Wyatt end up with Bonnie and Clyde pretending to be another outlaw couple,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the setup for the episode. But the two main things we get advancing here is back in the present day timeline, is we have Agent Christopher actually looking into Rittenhouse and actually suspecting Mason of hiding something, of being involved in some way, to the point where she follows him and actually takes photos, meeting with Lucy's father.
Aye, which is not wrong, so
No, she's not. And I thought that was a good double sort of swerve, if you will, when we see him meet up with him and he's giving him all this information, and then the photo click snap. And
yeah, and he's basically just going, it's fine, we'll kill her, no big deal.
yeah, which and again, I like Mason's like, no, can we not do that? Like Mason's tried,
Yeah, he's not outright evil. It's
Yeah.
showing us again.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. When they come back to, and by the way, I do like that they address that he's still got the recording device on him, and that they do pause it when they want to have a chat. That it's something they don't want to be heard. They've still not addressed that Rittenhouse was okay with the fact that they came back from the stranded mission without a device.
Yeah, I guess they just allow it that one time. They're like, all right, fine. Stuff happens.
Possibly, it was just because we'd seen it every time before then, where they kept questioning why is this not here. What. That it just felt weird not to see it.
Yeah.
But if I was to guess, I'd maybe even think that they did shoot it and it was just deleted for time.
Probably.
That would be my guess. But so when they're back in prison day at the end, though, and Agent Christopher comes to speak to Rufus and starts asking questions about Mason and where he got his money because he went bankrupt at one point, and is it Rittenhouse, and she even pulls out the photo and all that. And I really, really like that scene.
Yeah.
Might even be my favourite scene of the episode. Partly because when Rufus is like, can you please stop doing this? I don't want to see you get hurt. And she interprets that as like, is that a threat? And we know it's not a threat from him.
But it sounds like one, to be fair.
It sounds like one, but I like that interplay where you can see how she misunderstands him, but he kind of convinces her afterwards. No, I don't want anything to happen to you. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And I like that he says, if you've got anyone that matters to you, just stop it. Because that's like what she interprets as a threat. But obviously, at the start of the episode, we hear her on the phone to presumably a daughter saying about the ballet, I think it was.
yeah, neatly set up for that, by the way.
Yeah. Because at the time, I was just like, oh, cool. We haven't had anything of her
Yeah, but
outside of work.
bit of a character texture almost. Just she's got a life, she's got family kind
Yeah,
of
it would
thing.
have been fine on its own, even without this ending scene. But with that, it was like, oh, this has a real purpose now to let us know that there is someone that she cares about.
But I do appreciate that she didn't actually say that, or they didn't actually, they didn't bring it up. It was just, no, it's there. We know.
We know, and that's
Yeah.
good enough. And they trust us to remember something from 40 minutes before without them having to tell us again.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So that was a good scene, and of course that's kind of progressing the overall plot. And even during the episode, like, Lucy and Wyatt are debating with Rufus, should they tell her about Rittenhouse, because obviously they know more than they've been currently letting on, to keep Rufus's family safe, to keep all these other things going. So that was a sort of the big bit of plot advancement in that sense. Other than, of course, Flynn getting the key and opening this antique clock, which had a message in it that he read and looked shocked by what was on it. Obviously, we don't get to see what it is. So,
yeah, we have no idea. It's a nice cliffhanger there.
Yeah, mystery.
Yeah. Looking forward to finding out what it was.
Of course, the majority of the episode, though. Oh, by the way, before we get into the main part of the episode, I'm loving all the aliases that these people are using every time, like, they're getting caught, and just, Flynn having the cop think that Rufus is involved in all the bank robberies, and I'm being like, oh, his name's Rufus, and he's like, no, this is my driver's license. What does it say? His name's Wesley Snipes.
And then Flynn's like, I assure you, he is not Wesley Snipes.
Yeah. I think it's really funny that Rufus keeps picking names of other black men. Like, he didn't have to. He could pick any name.
Anyone.
But so far he's picked, I think Denzel Washington was one in a previous episode.
I feel like it did you Kanye.
He did do Kanye in one episode, yeah. And now he's picked Wesley Snipes. Like, he didn't have to, but he keeps doing it, and it's making it funnier.
Yeah, it is.
Like, because there's no reason why he can't just be Christopher Walken. Like, there's
He could be anyone, yeah. But he's gone for black guys every time.
Yeah, which just adds a little bit extra humour to it, so no, appreciate that. In fact, he was actually cracking me up throughout this episode. See, like, at the opening shootout, when they go to the bank and all this shootout comes off, and there's the cops outside, and it's Bonnie and Clyde, Lucy and Wyatt, and it all goes down, and they all eventually, like, drive off in a car chase, and Rufus is just sort of standing, because he went away to go and do something else, and he helped the little girl at the drinking fountain, and he's just like, what the hell? like, he doesn't know why any of this happened. He doesn't even know Bonnie and Clyde were involved yet.
Yeah. He's just like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah.
Guns? I'm left here now. What?
And then again, when he's like in sort of custody, because they, someone's seen him like shouting something or being with the Lucy and Wyatt, and he's like, oh well, at least it can't get any worse. And then in walks Flynn. And he's like, you just had to open your big mouth. He was cracking me up. I was enjoying this episode.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, so the main obviously is Lucy and Wyatt, like, infiltrating with Bonnie and Clyde. There's a lot of them like sitting around the farmhouse and convincing them that they're a couple, and Bonnie and Clyde talking about their past. And I think obviously the standout scene is when they have to talk about how they got engaged, and Wyatt tells the story, which is very obviously the real story of how he proposed to his wife.
Yeah, there was never anything else that it could have been. There was never any suggestion that this was just a story he'd made up.
Oh no, of course not. And I really liked that in the scene. I was almost a little bit disappointed when Lucy just straight up asked him. Like, she's like,
come on. You
of course it was, yeah. I mean, sure, we've got the extra like musical score to tell us that this is emotional, but you should have still got it.
You don't need it, do you, really? You could take the music out of that. Just the look on his face as he's saying it was pretty clear that that's what this was.
Yeah. So, no, that was a really, really strong scene. And as much as I was disappointed she actually had to come out and ask, I think they did again, much like the setup, Agent Christopher having a family member early on, right at the start of this episode, we had Lucy on this, like, quote-unquote first date with her fiancé, which was going awful because he was trying to act as if they'd known each other for years, and she was, acting all awkward, and
What's your favourite food?
What's your favourite food? Yeah. Imagine going out on your, 400th date with someone and be like, by the way, just in case, I'm not saying I did forget, but just in case I did, what kind of food do you like?
Yeah.
What's your favourite film?
That's the thing. It's such a vague question. It's like, really? Come on, be a bit more subtle about it.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, she can't possibly, even if she was allowed to just tell him what's going on, how do you even begin to explain?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've basically never met you before, like, last week, or however long it's been since she came back.
Yeah. And he even mentions how she keeps pulling away when he touches her.
So we have this date early on, and then Lucy and Wyatt have this conversation sort of casually as they're, picking out their costumes for the 30s. And he's like, well, if you don't feel anything for them, then, you're not meant to be with them. Because he even sort of hints at the idea that, well, it's only this way because your sister got erased. If we're going to get your sister back, then
It's going to be gone anyway.
well, yeah, what's the point of like even trying to like pursue it or
Yeah.
re-establish yourself or rejigger yourself to fit with it? Because the whole plan is to rejigger everything again anyway. So whatever.
Yeah.
Even in that scene though, I was like, are they hinting at a potential romance here? He seems a little bit too concerned with
He does, doesn't he?
her love life. And so later on, when they have to kiss to sell the story, and then, although it was really funny though when they're on the couch and like he realizes, oh, we should probably look a bit more, comfortable with each other and snug. So he sort of pulls her over to like lean against him, and then she's like, oh yeah, put your hand here. Like it was a very, it was a series of just little minor awkward like interactions of, oh, this should sell it, yeah, this should do it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which was enjoyable. And then them obviously whispering in bed, which is where they really get to the hinting that there might be like a little spark of romance, which I don't mind. It's very much the obvious thing to do, and I think it would be very easy to be critical of it for that. But I will at least appreciate the fact that they took 9 episodes before they got to it, because I think a lot of shows would have just shoved this in your face by the end of the first episode.
Yeah, I can see that. I almost feel like it's so like the obvious thing to do that it might play with it and then drop it.
Yeah, it might. And I at least buy that there would be some kind of like growing feelings, just because they've been through all these like really heightened adventures where they've been constantly in threat of danger and they've been saving each other's lives. Like I get why there would be a bond.
Yeah, and there is only a couple of them together at all this.
And probably the biggest thing is that it's like she's not allowed to, but for both of them aren't allowed to talk to anyone about what they do. They're the only people that they can confide in with each other. And even Rufus's relationship is still someone that he can confide in because she's in on the whole process. She's part of the team. She's not in the away team that goes into the adventures, but she's at least part of it where he can speak to her. Oh, we did this, we did that. This is how things have affected, Which, by the way, all of the banter in the car when they're like, "Wait, did this thing happen? Did it happen?" I think it happened. Again, that was the fun sort of team building where they seem to care about each other that we've been talking about.
Yeah, and she was like, called it. We knew this was coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, Rufus, in terms of comedy, this episode was kind of right in the middle of it.
Definitely.
But no, so I'm okay with them doing this. I like that they waited this long, and I understand why there would be affection. It doesn't feel too forced.
The only part of it I didn't like was, I think it was when they came back and they were in the costume room and he was like, oh, that kiss, it meant nothing, just for the part.
Little overwritten, yeah.
Yeah, didn't need that little conversation.
I think just having them like sharing an awkward look and then doing the exact same walk away that they did would have been just as effective, if not more so, because it would have been just in our heads.
Yeah, I feel like it was just a little bit too much after the conversation that we'd had already.
Yeah. But there you go. So that's this episode of Timeless. That was pretty good. I didn't like it as much as maybe the Stranded one.
No, I don't think it was the best out of it, especially after the last few, which have been, firing all cylinders.
Yeah. But no, solid enough though. Lot to enjoy. So that's this week's Timeless. Let us know what you thought of it in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. We got one more before Christmas next week. So join us for that, and we'll see you next time.